the main card now in this very first fight, in my opinion, at least. We haven't talked about it yet. I think this one's a very easy one to pick. I think, listen, all you people at home, if you bet Harry, right? Harry Hunsucker, or is it Henry? I always get the two.
Harry.
Harry. I don't know why in my notes I have him as Henry. Stupid autocorrect. If you bet Harry Hunsucker this weekend, you're probably getting suckered in by those plus 500 lines. He has no significant wins. One extremely significant loss, which is to Jared Bandera, and a diarrhea soft chin. He's extremely slow, and he's definitely the slower man in this matchup with minimal head movement. He really doesn't move his head around at all. I mean, some heavyweights, you see them do that, but they also have better chins for the most part than Harry Hunsucker. He hasn't fought since December. And he's coming up against Tyson Pedro, who's really no stud either. He doesn't really have any crazy names on his record either. But he does have the power to potentially put Hunsucker out because, I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't take a whole lot to do that. It just takes an average heavyweight. So I'm going to take Tyson Pedro to win this one by knockout. I think that's probably the most likely outcome going into this. What do you think about this one, Tom?
Well, there's a couple things that I will add to your point that, I think we failed to mention here. First of all, Tyson Pedro, the brother-in-law of Tai Tuivasa, they actually have a podcast together. They're launching a beer together. He spends a lot of time over at City Kickboxing and a variety of different coaches. Tyson Pedro is a guy who's had a bunch of knee surgeries and was out for about 2 or 3 years between 2019 and now. And we haven't seen a lot of him. His most recent fight, I know it wasn't against a guy that, we think too highly of in Ike Villanueva, but at the end of the day, and Ike has some leg strike issues of his own. But Tyson Pedro is he for a while before he got hurt, he was looking like that guy. He came in undefeated. He got a bunch of quick wins over some guys in the UFC. He's got power in his hands. He's got pretty good ground game too when it comes to being defensive. And then Harry Hunsucker coming down to 205 after an entire career at heavyweight, trying to thin down, always been a heavier, fatter type of guy with a muscle underneath him. But the biggest problems for Harry Hunsucker still remain, and that's going to be speed, and that's going to be defense, and it's going to be head movement. And, for a guy like Tyson Pedro, who's training with the top echelon of coaches and fighters, I just don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. He's going to have the reach advantage here. Tyson Pedro, he's not going to be the bigger man, in terms of muscle, but he's definitely going to be the bigger man in terms of stature and reach and a lot of the things that matter when it comes to MMA. So for this one, I'm feeling really good about taking that pick of Tyson Pedro, and that makes this, for me and you, Keith, our first super lock outside of the prelim notables, of course.
Sure. It is a really good super lock too. And you're right. I completely forgot about the relation to Tai Tuivasa and that he trains over at CKB with all the boys over there. So yeah, good super lock in this one with Tyson Pedro. I like it.
And just one other fun fact: last 2 fights for Harry Hunsucker have been against Tai Tuivasa and been against Justin Tafa, 2 guys with those big Samoan leg tattoos. Tyson Pedro, of course, going to have that as well. Shown to be a weakness, and then of course being so close, Tyson with Tai. Tai being able to go in there and make relatively quick and easy work of Harry Hunsucker. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a tip or a trick that he'll be able to pass on to his brother-in-law. And I'm not even totally sure that he would need that per se. I think Tyson Pedro is just an echelon above Harry Hunsucker. Now, I will say this, though. If Hunsucker does beat Pedro, I'm willing to forgive everything else that Hunsucker has done in the heavyweight division, because that means that we're seeing an entirely new Harry Hunsucker. He seemed very, very confident on Instagram. And Tyson Pedro, I mean, for what it's worth, he has been that guy in the past. Injuries could derail him, but he's still, 29, 30 years old, 31 years old, I think, 30 years old. He's going to be 31 soon. Still in the prime here, man. So he could still make a run and do this thing. So if Harry comes in and he beats him, that's going to be a huge feather in the cap and a revitalizing aspect for his career for Harry Hunsucker.
Yeah, very valid point. But I don't think that's going to happen. If it does, and if you're someone at home that thinks that that's going to happen, because it really, I mean, all right, yeah, it could. Anything could happen in the octagon on Saturday night. +5 something for Harry Hunsucker. So
Plus 550. I see minus 800 for Tyson Pedro. So, I mean, listen, I still feel good about it. He's minus 800 for a reason. And I don't see, like, when we were looking at the GM3 versus Bruno Silva fight, I saw something very clear in Bruno Silva that I was like, hey, I don't think this guy can stop takedowns. And GM3, who's a striker at heart, our friend Patrick from Addicted to Combat, by the way, if you haven't gone and checked them out, go and check him out. Addicted to Combat with Patrick. They just got a new countdown clock. I don't know where that came from. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But here it looks good. Go check out Patrick over at Addicted to Combat. But Patrick is friends with GM3, and he was telling me that, like, GM3 is a striker at heart, and fell in love with striking, but has just happened to be better and predisposed to being a better grappler and a submission artist. That being said, it's still a little bit nerve wracking that he can go in there and try to strike with somebody. But the reason I'm bringing that is because I saw what I thought was a clear weakness and a mismatch, and the odds makers didn't reflect that. In this one, I think the odds makers are right, so I feel confident throwing Tyson Pedro even at minus 800 into a parlay piece.
Yeah, no, he is a really solid parlay piece, especially, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I think to win by knockout is a really solid pick. Knockout.
100%. 100%. Moving down in weight, cutting all that weight, I don't think you're going to miraculously get a revitalized chin.
No, definitely not. That's only
and Pedro hits hard, dude. Pedro sits down on his shots, and he will throw hard. So he throws with bad intentions.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what those Samoan Pacific Islander type guys do, though, man. They're bad boys. I'm looking forward to that
Fun
matchup.
note.
It's going to be
Fun note, playing UFC 4. I know you're a big UFC 4 guy. Create a fighter. Gotta go with the nickname Bad Intentions. It's been my favorite. I've had a plethora of nicknames over the years. Tom, Bad Intentions. Well, the way John Anik recorded that sounds very good.
Yeah, it's a sick one. So, yeah, I'm definitely up for that fight, though. But I forget what mine is in UFC 4. I'll have to come back to it with that one.